Hello and welcome to episode 15 of our RPG tutorials. Today I have kind of one I've been looking forward to getting to, or really it's the setup for what I'm really looking forward to getting to, which is um, well, other than the typo there, um, it's getting turns set up so that we can get to doing some mob AI, some ability work, some um, you know actual gameplay mechanics into the game. So to do that, what we need to do is we need to first create the flags for the turn. We already have one of them. We'll add another one. I'll explain. Then we'll have the start turn functions. So differentiating between turns will be like starting the heroes' turns, then starting the mobs' turns. The next thing we need to do is we need to the rework levels update in order to properly deal with turns. There'll be a tiny bit of work in hero as well, just an itty bitty tiny bit. And then we will set up mob turn handling inside the mob. We won't actually do any AI work today, but we'll get right up to the point where we're ready to start doing some. So I'm looking forward to it. If you guys are enjoying what we're doing here, please hit that like button and subscribe and comment. Look, a comment and a like take you 30 seconds or less, and it makes a huge difference to this channel. Getting somewhat close to being able to be monetized, and if you guys would help me out, that would mean the world to me. Okay, let's jump right in. Let's get to it. So again, text big for you guys. I'm doing my best to remember to do that. And when I don't, just remind me, and we'll get to it. Okay, so let's get to the flags. So first of all, in unit, we have dead. We don't have the turn one here. Interesting. Okay, well, we're going to create both of them. No big deal. So units, they're going to need to know is turn, meaning is it its turn, and is the turn done. Now, you might say, well, those are the same thing. Well, they're not. So the turn is the segment of basically the state. You're going to have heroes' turns, then mobs' turns, then heroes' turns, then mobs' turns, and heroes' turns, and mobs' turns. So it needs to know if it's its turn. And then turn done is you've completed whatever you're allowed to within your turn. So for instance, if it was divinity, you'd have a certain number of action points to move, and then you could also do some attacks or whatever. You run out of action points, you're done, right? You're done, and so then we'd flag them as done, and that way we know that to switch it over to the mobs' turn. And then the mobs likely are going to do their AI, and they're going to pick what they're going to do, and then their turn is done. And so in this case, for this style of game, we're going to start again with the basics of a rogue-like, not rogue-lite, those are two different things, but rogue-like game. And we're going to have one thing you can do per turn. You can either move one or you can do an action. And that's what we're going to start with. So to do that, we need these two wonderful variables. And then down here, right next to dead, we just tell it is turn equals false, and then we tell it turn done equals false. Okay, super simple. Now all mobs and all heroes have that set up. So that's what those are. The next thing we have to do is we have to go through and we have to add functions for the turns, and then those we're going to start with the word turn, and then we are going to say what they do. So in this case, we're going to have turn start heroes. Public virtual void turn start heroes. And then we are going to have a second one called public virtual void turn start mobs. Super simple, nothing special, but it'll be important as we go. So we'll be able to set certain rules for the heroes' turn starting and another set of rules for the mob's turn starting. And then the other thing we need to do in unit is we need to create the turn start and turn complete functions. So we go down to the bottom because T is at the bottom and turn is below test and blah, 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 blah. So we're going to create public virtual void turn complete. Oh, it's all wigging out. I messed something up with that. I'll have to play with that a little bit. Public virtual void turn start. Okay. And then inside these, what we're going to say is, sorry for the mic. We're going to say turn done. This is complete, so it's going to be true. And is turn equals true. No, it's false. Is turn equals false. And then we're going to do the opposite in turn start. So turn done on start is false, and is turn is true. Okay. These are simple functions for now, but we can expand these for everything that we need to do. We may be resetting certain things. We may be calculating action points. We may be ticking our cooldowns down one turn. We might be doing all kinds of things. We may be having our buffs and debuffs tick. We may be having any number of things happening in these functions. And so this is just the base work for what we need right now, but these functions could grow to be quite large, especially turn start, which is where I typically would do my dots ticking and HOTS healing and all that kind of stuff would be done here. So turn start specifically can get quite large. Turn complete, there's still things that happen there, and you might choose to do some of those things on the completion of the turn instead of the start of the turn, but it just depends on what you want and what you want your rule set to be. So these are two really important functions. In this case, they're just very minor for today. And then so we need to go back to level, and then we need to set these up. And so in turn start heroes, we're going to make sure that our turn is equal to 0, because that was actually our original landmark. And then likewise, turn is equal to 1. So that's very simple. We also need to, since we're starting heroes, we're going to say, and then we need to make sure that hero, since hero is a singular, not in a loop, we need to make sure we wrap it in if. So if hero not equal null, and then, oops, we go here and we say hero dot turn start, and then take this and we reverse it here to be turn complete. Okay, that takes care of our heroes. Now let's deal with our mobs. So we have a for loop for all of our mobs. Then we say int I equals 0, I less than mobs dot count plus plus. And then inside here we say mobs dot turn, mobs I dot turn complete. Done. So our hero starts his turn, our mobs complete their turn, we're in good shape. We take the exact same thing here, we copy it down here, but instead of turn complete, we use turn start. All right, so what we've done is we've been able to mirror those two things for ourselves, and now we can go and set up rules for those. So inside of our update, we are going to have to change a few things. There's not a ton to do here, but there's a little bit to do. So one thing that we got to take a look at is the way we're dealing with turns now, right? They're based on turn 0 and turn 1, which is fine. That's not a problem. But our mob turn just is just a timer. That's all it is. And so we'll have to fix that. And then another thing that we have to deal with is we need to find what progresses everything. So one thing that progresses everything would be if, and I'll get to that in a second, but if turn equals 0 and hero dot turn done, then it's the mob's turn, right? So we call turn turn star to mobs. So that's how we get to mobs. Now notice we use this whole turn done thing. Well, that's where we have to make some small changes to our hero. In hero, right down here, instead of turning the turn to 1, what we need to do actually is just set turn done. And the reason we do it that way is because let's pretend for a second you are a warlock and you're summoning things. Well, you have all these summons as heroes. They need to finish their turn also before before you allow the turn to completely end. And so rather than, oh, I'm done with my turn, and we flip the turn, and now maybe our warlock pet didn't calculate its AI in that time, or maybe didn't finish moving, or any number of different things, that would be bad. And so we definitely want to have just this individual piece as turn done. 1 second, get a drink. Okay. All right, so we've set that up. That all should line up, and we can move on from there. The next thing we need to do is we need to figure out what, if anything, are we dealing with for our mobs. So our mobs, slightly more complicated, and there's a reason for that, so I'll go into it in a second. But first of all, let's copy what we have here. So first we have turn equals 0. Or equals 1, I'm sorry. So we want to make sure that turn is equal to 1. We need to make sure that all mobs are done. And so we could loop there and deal with that inside here, but I think it's probably best just to create a function that returns a bool for that kind of thing. So public virtual void, or virtual bool, I'm sorry, all mobs done. And then so we have, if it gets all the way through, we say return true. And then if not, and we're going to actually comment this for testing at one point, but I'm going to put it in now. Int I equals 0, I less than mobs dot count, I plus plus, and then here we say if, or sorry, yeah, we say if not mobs I dot turn done. So we found one that isn't done. We say return false. Okay, so now we have that. We can put it in here. So if all mobs done and our temp turn timer dot test. So we want the turn to take at least a certain amount of time. So at least in this case, maybe you guys don't. You could remove this. I like it too, so I want that to happen. And then the other thing we need to do here is when you say if, well, we can just grab this guy here. It's right here. And we got a gut part of it. And this is our timer portion. So we can paste it here, and we'll gut the majority of it. So we want to update the timer. We don't want to test the timer, but we do want to return this to 0 when it tests out. But now the test out is all of these things instead of just this. So we're going to remove all of this if statement and just have it update our timer. Okay, now why do I do that? Well, I believe that spacing things out in a way that your brain can understand is very helpful. And so if turn timers are always vastly different, it's just hard to play the game. You're constantly waiting for some kind of visual cue. You can't play it like on autopilot, and it doesn't feel as good. You may say, well, that's wasting my time. Yeah, to a degree. But it actually becomes very convenient to have a small waste of time to be able to always know when you're able to push the button. And you're not mashing your keyboard and all that kind of stuff. So I like this. Now, you don't like it, take it out of your game. But I like it. So, all right. And then what are we going to do in here? Well, we're going to say turn start heroes. Easy peasy, right? Last thing we have to do is when we start a level, we always want heroes to start first. So if we come down the bottom of our generate level, we say turn start heroes. Oops, one extra pen. Okay, so that's a little minor thing that we need to make sure we get. Okay, so we're at the point now where if, and I told you we were going to comment this out a minute ago, if we comment this out and make it to where all mobs are always done, which is what we had before, right? That's what we had before. This should work exactly the same as we had before. If it doesn't, we have a problem. Let's check it out. There we go. Just click through, and we're right here. And so we should just keep getting to move. It's moving faster than I'd like, which means potentially I've screwed something up with my turn timers, unless I sped those up so fast. Let's see, what did I do with this thing? It'd be faster just to look up here. Oh yeah, we sped that up really fast compared to my my prompt. Okay, so no, that is working properly, and we are currently happy days. Now if I come in here and I do this and then I let it start, now it should never let me move again after once. You can hear my keyboard, I can't move. That's exactly what we expect because we have no way currently of getting to where mob turns are done. So now we want to get into that. So mobs, we're going to be here, or mob, I'm sorry. And what we're going to do is we're going to say, first we're going to just set it nice and easy peasy. So we're going to start with a bool, and we'll say bool no close heroes, or no heroes close, I'm sorry. No heroes close. Now, okay, so if no heroes are close, then we will say turn done equals true. So we haven't designated what a close hero means, but we're only going to allow 8i to happen when you are close enough to the mob, and we'll define that in a minute. But now this should get us back to everything's just working. So we bring this in, we test it. We're at a point where we can test each step, and I recommend doing that when we get to it. So yes, we're there. And see, my brain can already figure out when exactly it is I can move. I don't gotta mash buttons. See, the difference is massive in that case. Okay, so what is a hero too close, and what are we gonna do with that information? So, we are going to designate a hero being close as being less than 4 spaces away. So let's start with getting that math correct. So first we're going to do math absolute value, because you're going to want plus or minus, right? And so current loc dot x minus packet. packets. Oh, I have to for loop this guy. I forgot, because we have heroes in a loop for all my heroes, right? So we're checking all our heroes, which right now is just one. But if there was a warlock pet, we would want it to be able to, attack the warlock pet. So we gotta make sure to do this right. Int I equals 0, I less than packet dot heroes dot count I plus plus. Okay, and then now we can say packet dot heroes I dot current loc dot x. Yep, outside the ABS is less than 4. So between 0 and 3, can't be 0, but between 1 and 3 away, we will denote that. And then same thing except for y's. So we'll take all of this, we put it in here, we put in y's. Okay, we are not going to write AI like I mentioned, but I wanted to get this all the way set up. So what are we going to do when there is a hero close? So we are still going to have no heroes. We're going to set no heroes to false. No heroes close equals false. We are going to set the color of the mob to color dot black, because we want to be able to see for right now which ones are doing that to make sure we can test it. But we are also going to set turn equals to done. Now this will change immediately upon doing the thing. Wow, I can't type true, T-R-U-E. This line here is not in code. This will change immediately because the mob is going to then do something, and then we'll tell it that its turn's done. So we would not be doing this, but this is to keep the game working. And then the other thing we need to do is when there is no hero close, we need to say color equals color.white. And then there's going to be one other issue that we run into, and that is going to be that when we call our mobs, and we come down to here, right here, we call, nope, it's in level, sorry, all the way down here, we call this. What we end up with is we have a call to, that was the animated 2D, and then this is the basic 2D. And the basic 2D, if you notice, does color.white. Well, we have one that does an offset and a color. Notice it goes to color. So we're going to use that here. And so in animated 2D, what we're going to do is we're going to use the draw update, or update offset, I'm sorry, update offset, and then we're going to use the color from animated 2D, because animated 2D is what holds our color. You could switch that to basic 2D and then do it a different way. This is how we're going to do it. Otherwise we can't see the color change. Okay, let's see. So when I get close to a mob, it should turn black after my turn. Okay, and if I get far enough away from that guy, they should unturn, and we'll go back and forth. So we come up here, there we go, that's working, and you can see the different distance is working. And so you can make that distance greater or smaller or whatever, but this is, you know, a basic representation of which mobs we expect to be reacting to us when we put in some AI. Anyways, guys, that's pretty much it for today. Again, if you guys made it this far, please hit that like button. Please subscribe. Just write a comment for like 10 seconds. Help me out here. It would really mean the world to me if we could get to monetization. I would really be able to, well, I'd be able to start spending some money on this channel and actually spiff it up and get you guys assets and whatnot. I have an artist working for me in, you know, real life work, and I would be happy to have him spend some time working on things, but I can't really spare his time for free. So Trying to get there. Please help me out. And we'll get to some even more interesting stuff with the next video, guys. Getting really excited about this game. It's really actually almost a game. All we have to do is be able to die, which will happen soon because our mobs are about to start being able to attack us. So, and then you technically have a game, and we'll create a loop, obviously, to restart, and then we're off to the races. We can start improving everything, right? We can start improving our level generation. We can start improving our AI. We can start improving the number of abilities. We can start talent trees. We can start all kinds of things at that point. So we are right at the cusp of starting to get to some interesting things, or what I consider more interesting things, which I'm excited about, and I hope you guys are too. So I will see you guys soon, and have a good week.